Michael, this interview series is really about bringing the incredible wealth of thought leadership that we have inside our community of investors within the Hunger Project and sharing it with the community of investors at large. So thank you for being a part of it. And what I'd like to ask you is to take yourself back to that fork in the road where you knew that things had to change and you were going to start giving in a meaningful way. Can you tell us about that?
Joe, I think the real fork in the road for me was when I had cancer when I was 30 and nearly died. And it made me really obviously step back and look at my life. And one of the things that I grew up in a family where it was always about helping others, but I realised then that now was the time. And that in part of my everyday life I should make sure that I'm finding a way to help others in everything that I do. And I guess the next piece was in McKinsey I started to then bring some of the things that I was learning in my cancer healing journey about self-transformation and mindset change into McKinsey. And many years later I heard about the Hunger Project, which uses the same sort of thinking and technology and that was what was very, very attractive to me.
So Michael, as you're speaking there, you've said that giving's always been a part of your culture. That's not the case for everyone. How important do you think it is for us to give now rather than later down the road when we retire?
Yeah, so that's a big question that I grapple with because I'm obviously incredibly busy at the moment in my role. So time is my biggest, scarcest resource. Also on the money side, you sort of think to yourself, well, I'll have more later and I can create a foundation and give money away. And I think I will give more money away later. But the one thing I learnt during the whole, I guess it came out of the cancer experience again, was life's too short. And rather than sort of working so that I sort of fall over the line and then have time to do things for myself and have time to give, actually retire a little bit every day and give a little bit every day. Just make it an integral part of my life, and that's my mindset. And so I put aside 10% of my time as for giving back, and I just look at my diary as it's going forward and think about things that I can do. But it's a minimum of 10% of my time. And then once I've got that, I value it as highly as anything else I do at work.
I think one of the things that stops some of us from giving is a perception that there's a risk involved when it comes to reallocation of resources. And certainly with your work with McKinsey, I know that risk and analysis is something you very much understand. Do you think that giving is a risky business?
So giving away your money feels risky because you think, well, then I won't have it if I need it. So it's all about security and insecurity, and to a certain extent money creates security, but actually what I've learned over the years is security comes from a lot more than money, and so it's about whether you feel abundant, really. Because I know people that are very wealthy that don't give away much at all, and there are people that aren't very wealthy at all that give away a lot, and it's got a lot to do with the feeling of abundance and more than risk. And I think the other thing is that because if you do give something and you do give it at a level that actually feels a little bit challenging, then it feels like it's really something, not just something on the side, but you've really made a choice, right? You've really made a choice about it. And in making the choice, you actually get a lot out of it for yourself because, again, it feels like you actually receive a lot back for making that choice. So for instance, I could have a smarter car. Every year, no, I choose to give the money away, and every year I think about it as that choice.
So Michael, what was it for you that attracted you to the Hunger Project and aligning yourself with the work that they're doing?
So being, from the business world and McKinsey in particular, is a very analytical mind that one either has or gets developed over time. And so when you go to give, you think, well, how can I give and really know that my giving is going to make a difference? And I studied at Oxford, did my master's, and one of the things I did was development economics. And unfortunately, it was pretty frustrating because all the research in development economics says very little makes a difference. What I learned in my own work in McKinsey with, if you want to get change to really happen, is you've got to actually work on people's mindsets and behaviours as individuals and shift that, and then shift them as a group, and then get them to commit to and own a course of action. And then, if you support them, things will happen. And the Hunger Project does the same thing. Right? And so that model, which was sort of an upside down model of not spending any money on physical infrastructure until you've actually got people, mindset change, believing they can change their own hunger, that was extremely attractive. And then when I went to see it, because I thought, well, I'm going to see whether this works. And I was very impressed. And then McKinsey did a study on it. And the study came away just incredibly compelling, that this is the most cost-effective and most sustainable model that we've seen in development pretty well anywhere in the world. So that then gave me the confidence that this was where I should give my hard-earned dollars, because it'll have the biggest impact.
So, Michael, on that, I'm interested in what parallels you see between what it takes to change a culture inside an organisation, which you do obviously every day with your work with McKinsey, and what it takes to change a culture inside the villages where the Hunger Project is working. What parallels do you see?
So what was amazing to me was, one, the parallels are extraordinary, and two, what they're doing actually in the Hunger Project is world's best practice. And I know that because in my role in McKinsey as leader of the global practice, I got to really, see what world's best practice is. And the key principles that we learned the hard way, I guess, on the business side, and we took a lot of this from psychology, is that organisations don't change, people do. Right? So the first thing you have to do is get the individuals to shift their behaviours. And if you get enough of them, a critical mass of them shifting their behaviour, then the organisation will change, or the village will change. And Hunger Project uses the same model. It's about helping individuals shift into a mindset that they can actually solve their own hunger. And it's the same thing we have to do in change in businesses, move people from what they call in psychology an external locus of control. In other words, it's happening to me, I can't change it, it's all too hard, too much red tape, they'll never do it, to I can change this, I can drive this, I can make it happen. And then if you have an organisation doing that, what you do is you create an organisation of owners who will feel like, I'm going to make this happen. And that's effectively what they do in the Hunger Project. So they go in and they actually work with people to change their mindsets and their behaviours and their beliefs that drive their behaviours. And they do that in a group setting so that everyone sort of aligns around that. And they call it vision, commitment, action workshops. And these things look like, except for the walls, because they're all on dirt floors, and they have, post-it sort of things up on, flip charts and priority lists, and you've got village women who hardly can write, working with a facilitator or an animator, they call them, it's a much better word, animator, to do this. And so it's a very, very similar process. And the power of the process is that once you get people totally driving, having made this mindset shift and then choosing to go on this journey, then the money you put in to support them has, our research showed 15 times the impact. So that is incredibly analogous to what we've found in business. But the techniques they use and the training that these people have, because there's like 150,000 of these people in Bangladesh alone, these animators, the training, when I sat down and I went and sat through the training programs, they're as good as the training programs that we do for our change champions in a big organisation, where we're teaching them these same skills of how you facilitate people, how you work with groups. So it's very, very, very advanced and very, very consistent with the best of what's happening in business.
If there were one thing that we, as part of this community of difference makers, could learn from the people in the villages, what would that be? Courage.
So when you go there, and we took a group of leaders from Australia there, and they see what these people, particularly what these women, do, and what they're up against, and the courage they have, and you come back to your own organisation, and all the little problems that you thought were that difficult are recalibrated enormously, and they're suddenly that difficult. So I think that's the big takeaway you bring back. It's just that we often think of these people as being somehow lesser than us because they don't live in the way we do. Actually, they're incredibly talented and courageous people that just are in a different system. And the courage it takes to actually work and shift that system from within is much greater than the courage we display inside our organisations or our society shifting things. So courage is the one thing that I think we can learn from them and bring back.